A heavily pregnant woman I had never seen before showed up at my door, demanding that I let her give birth in my bedroom because that's where she and her mom were born. Posted by u/ediscrad18. This is one of the strangest things that's ever happened to me. To set the scene, I, 26, bought the house I'm living in back in 2019 from a lovely older couple. I thought, as I'm sure anyone in this situation might, that the signing would be the last time I saw them or had anything to do with their family. I was wrong. Yesterday, I got a knock on my door. When I opened it, I found a young couple, probably my age, maybe a bit younger. The woman was pregnant and looked like she was going to pop any day. I asked who they were and if I could help them. The woman replied that this house used to belong to her parents and that she was born in it. I asked again what they wanted, as that didn't really explain if they needed anything from me. She then told me her mother had also been born in the house, specifically in the upstairs bedroom, which, for context, is now my bedroom. She asked if I wouldn't mind letting her bring in the necessary items so she could give birth in the same spot where she and her mother were born. I said no, keeping in mind that, A, this isn't her or her parents' house anymore, and B, the bedroom in question is my bedroom. Now, I thought my response was as normal as could be, given the odd request. However, when I was telling my friends about it later, one of the girls in our friend group said it was pretty cruel of me to tell a pregnant woman where she could and couldn't give birth. I didn't think what I said was unreasonable, considering I had never met the couple before and don't exactly want a stranger giving birth where I sleep. But my friend insists that I could have come to some sort of arrangement. So, here I am, asking you guys, am I somehow in the wrong here? Edit. So, I would just like to add that my friend isn't an idiot. When we were having this conversation, we were, let's say, having a fun time with fun substances. When I asked her about it today, she genuinely thought she'd imagined the conversation. Obviously, she thinks it's a horrible idea for liability and health reasons, aside from it being weird. For those concerned that she's getting high as a nurse, she's off for the next 2 weeks and flying home for the holidays. We were having a little get-together for those of us leaving for home. As for those saying I made this up, I wish I had an imagination that good, I'd start writing if I did. I couldn't have predicted or come up with something like this in 100 years. Also, I already have cameras, and due to other events in the neighborhood recently, I have alarms on both. Edit. I got an email back from the previous owners. I managed to get their contact info from the realtor who sold the house. It turns out that, yes, they have a daughter, and yes, she is apparently pregnant. They have cut her off for being a bit on the crazy side. So, I asked if they had anything that might be helpful for obtaining any kind of protection order for my house. However, the cops said that unless she actually tries something, there isn't anything they can do. I guess on Monday, I'll have to talk to someone in my county's court system to deal with this. Update 27 days later. Well, I didn't think I'd be updating, but this got crazy. If you remember from the original post, the apparent daughter of the previous owners of my house came to my door a little while ago and asked if she could give birth in my bedroom. Honestly, it's as crazy as it sounds. Reading my original post won't make it make much more sense. A couple of things before I get into it. Some friends have shown me that the post has indeed broken Reddit containment and pointed out a few things to me. So, I'm going to set a few things straight. First, most other websites assume I'm a woman. I am non-binary and will not elaborate further on that point. Not being snippy about it, but I just wanted to set the record straight, lol, on that. Second, some people have assumed this was fake and that I probably made up the scenario because they think I find it entertaining. No, I don't. I think the entire scenario is creepy and off-putting. Lastly, yes, I know that 21 is pretty young to be buying a house, which makes the whole thing seem fake. I live in the Midwest, which is pretty affordable to begin with. It's not a huge house, and I received a small settlement after an incident at work, which I used to secure my future. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter what I say. I know some people will still assume I made the whole thing up or used ChatGPT to create it. That said, if you don't think this is real, just move on with your day. I truly wish it wasn't real. One last note, a couple of people ask why I got the cops involved with the original incident. I only did that after the previous homeowners told me the woman was a bit unhinged. When someone says the person who showed up at your door might not be entirely stable, you take precautions for your own peace of mind. Anyway, last Friday, at about 1:30 a.m., I got a knock, well, more like heavy pounding, on my door. I went to answer it, wondering who the hell would be visiting me in the middle of the night, and I saw a familiar face. It was the pregnant woman, along with her husband/boyfriend/partner, I'm not sure which, and 2 women I assumed were midwives. From what I gathered, she had gone into labor earlier that day and was hoping I had changed my mind. I hadn't, and I asked them all to leave. The woman started having either a breakdown or a contraction or something, because she began screaming in my driveway. One of the other women explained to me that they had driven 4 hours to get here and asked if I wouldn't mind letting them set up. She told me the woman had assured her that arrangements had been made, and she was nearly ready to push. Apparently, the woman had lied to her midwives about me agreeing to this and had essentially tried to trick them, and me, into letting her give birth in my house. I firmly said no and pointed out that there was a hospital only 5 minutes away, the same one my friend works at from my original post, although she wasn't there, as she was on vacation at the time. I asked them all to leave. The woman started screaming and crying about how I was ruining this for her, but between me closing and locking the door, her partner, and her midwives, she eventually got back into their van, and they drove off. I don't know if this was a guilt trip, if they were delusional, or what. But here's the thing about me, I'm an absolute pushover. I probably would have just pretended to be asleep, not opened the door, and waited them out. However, I had a different friend, her wife, and their highly autistic child spending the night on their way back home after the holidays. I'm cheaper than a hotel, lol. All the noise and commotion, plus the unexpected midnight visitor, severely triggered the kid, and it took nearly 2 hours to calm her down enough to sleep. She's a good kid and means the world to my friends. Knowing how much this situation was affecting someone else, I managed to find a bit of spine, which is why I opened the door to ask them to leave. Honestly, I shouldn't have even opened the door and should have called the cops first thing. The good news is that after a couple of minutes of talking to the midwife, she agreed to take the whole show elsewhere. Once they left, I called the police on the non-emergency line, updated them on what happened, and provided the footage of the previous incident along with the latest video. I'm really hoping that now that she's given birth, she'll leave me alone. Either way, in addition to my Ring camera, I'd asked my neighbor to keep an eye out and call me if anything happens while I'm at work. I also got deadbolts for all my exterior doors. I had already changed the locks when I bought the house, which was a good idea, but the deadbolts are just to give me a bit more peace of mind.